Hi, I'm Christy Whitman, author of The Art of Having It All, and you are watching The Quantum Success Show, where you can get your information and inspiration to create your desires. And in this episode, we are going to explore how you can have your it and your all by applying the manifestation formula and the science of beliefs. If you know what you want and you are attempting to create it, why don't you already have it? Well, beliefs, thoughts, feelings, actions, it creates your outcomes. Our beliefs inform our thoughts, which then influence the way we feel, and then direct the actions that we take or don't take, and ultimately depend and determine on the results that we manifest or don't manifest in our lives. When almost 100 years ago, Henry Ford asserted that whatever you think you can or think you can't, you're right. He was pointing to the ways in which our beliefs color our perception of reality by filtering the millions of possible outcomes that could come into being and drawing our attention only to those which we really think we can attain. When our beliefs are in alignment with our desires, meaning that we are certain both about what we want and about our ability to attain it, we view every person, circumstance, and opportunity as an ally. But if we are guided by an internal script that tells us that focusing on our own happiness is selfish, that becoming too successful will cause us to lose some kind of love, or that we will need to be perfect in order to earn other people's approval or acceptance, we lock ourselves into a mindset of lack and limitation, which drastically limits the amount of abundance that we can open and be available to us, that we are open to receive. And this, of course, serves only to reinforce our limiting beliefs. You know, I'm neither a scientist or a biochemist, but it's essential to understand that our beliefs don't just affect our thinking process, they really trigger a very powerful alchemic reaction throughout our physical bodies as well. So let's talk about the science that our beliefs have on our body-mind. Our body-mind network is made up of trillions of cells, and every cell contains millions of receptor sites that allow us to receive, interpret, and respond to the energy and information that comes to us from the environment. At birth, these receptor sites are open and really permeable, but as we grow and we form beliefs about ourselves and life, each receptor site gets imprinted with a particular blueprint that tells us how to perceive, how to interpret, and even how to react in any given situation. Beliefs rooted in lack and limitation get planted into our sponge-like little minds long before we even understand that we have the power to question them. And once they are imprinted on these little receptor sites, they are triggered at the cellular level, far beneath the level of our conscious awareness. So until we learn that we have a choice in the matter, the biological and emotional reactions happen automatically in the same way our bodies respond to the threatening situations by releasing adrenaline to prepare us for fight or flight. So this occurs, of course, whether the threat is real or imagined. So let's break this process down into kind of more familiar terms. If a woman desires to be in an intimate relationship, but believes that there is scarcity of good single men, the imprint of that belief will actually block her receptor sites from receiving any new or contradictory information. So what she will find instead is evidence all along her world that supports the belief that she already holds to be true. And when she meets someone that she likes, he turns out to be married, well, gay or otherwise uninterested or unavailable, the moment her old belief is triggered, a biological reaction occurs in the very cells of her body, which causes her to experience at a very concrete and physical level that her belief is valid and true. This is what's called the self-fulfilling prophecy. So the more evidence that she finds to support her beliefs, the more deeply that belief gets imprinted within her. Beliefs are simply thoughts that have been thought over and over and over again. Like a well-worn path that leads from point A to point B, they create specific neural pathways within our mind and body circuit. Of course, these pathways are extremely helpful in the sense that they, really do enable us to not have to rethink everything that we see or do in our lives. We don't have to continually relearn, for example, the idea that this is a chair, or this is a dress, or this is green or blue or black. Once we have to come to know and believe something as true, we can kind of take a shortcut instead. But our beliefs cease to be helpful in the same way our brains can take a shortcut each time we see a chair or the color blue. We assume something to be true in the present that we concluded to be true in the past. So every belief that we hold to be true gives rise to a certain frequency of thoughts, and every thought triggers a range of emotions. Like everything in the universe, beliefs are made up of energy. Beliefs that are aligned with the energy of limitlessness and possibility magnetize greater possibilities into our lives. And beliefs that are contrary to our nature, what some people call negative beliefs, or they limit the range that we can really allow ourselves to experience and hold us apart from the very things that we desire. Our outdated, limited beliefs exist not just as some mental construct, but as a real, palpable energy that permeates both body and mind. So to release a belief that no longer serves us, we need to be willing to feel the energy and take an honest look at how it's manifesting in our lives. Because we always create what we believe to be true, we will always find proof that the reality operates the way we think it does. I remember hearing long ago, well before I ever became a mom, that once a family has a child, everyone is always getting sick because the child brings germs from daycare or preschool back into the home. When I became pregnant, years later after even hearing this, people around me reinforced this idea, telling me that, you know what, you better watch out because once our baby was born, we were always constantly forever going to be sick. Because the ground had already been laid out, this suggestion went deep into my consciousness like a seed being planted in the fertile soil, despite the fact that I was an adult who already understood the power of our thoughts and beliefs. Sure enough, after our boys were born and they did spend some time at the daycare at the gym where we work out, they did get sick frequently. And then I started to get sick a lot. So for almost a year, I was down with a cold at least once a month until I finally got sick of being sick and began examining my beliefs around the subject. I then realized that I had been giving my power away to a source outside of myself and allowing the beliefs of others who had had experiences of this before, influence my perception of my reality. And as soon as I became aware of this belief, and deliberately took responsibility for my own immune system, I went from being sick once a month to not having a cold well over a year. The good news about beliefs is that they are a sword that cuts both ways. If you change what you believe, you change what you experience. If you are unaware of your core beliefs in some key area of your life, it's easy enough to discover them. All you need to do is reflect on the current condition of whatever area your life is and ask yourself, what would I need to believe about myself, other people, or the world in order to create this particular circumstance? I asked myself this question years ago when I was in the habit of spending more money than I earned. And I made ends meet each month by going deeper and deeper in credit card debt. My belief at the time was that the company that I work for was the sole source of my income. And I have to laugh now when I think about that, but when I honestly looked at what belief would I have to, would keep me in that situation, would keep me staying in a job that I didn't even love, even though I never had enough money at the end of the month to pay the bills, I had to admit the limitations of my thinking when it came to my financial abundance. I had become so attached to receiving a paycheck every 2 weeks that I couldn't conceive of any other way of making money. The day I changed this belief and accepted that my abundance comes from source, it's a co-creation, not from any person, circumstance, situation, I began to see the company I work for as one of limitless number of avenues through which money could come into my life. The more I embodied this belief, the more evidence I found to support it. Money began to stream into my life from a wide variety of sources. And a year or so after redefining that in my life, abundance to me was less about making money and more about making a profit. And then I adopted an even more powerful belief that I create profits like nobody's business. That became my daily mantra, and that is exactly what started to happen. So within months, I was debt-free, and after 2 years of working full-time in my coaching business, I was finally making a profit, and a healthy one at that. So what's important to understand is that your outdated or limiting beliefs are not wrong. Chances are you've adopted them because there was a time in your life when they served you or supported you in some way. They protected you or kept you from feeling pain. Maybe there was a time when love really couldn't be trusted. Or maybe you actually have had the experience that success always comes at a price. But to the extent that we allow these ancient beliefs to dictate our present moment choices, we continue to give them the power to direct the course of which unfolds in our future. Our beliefs are self-fulfilling, and they are potent. They explain why and when we see someone enjoying a degree of abundance and joy and success and happiness that we don't believe is possible for us. We deflect it. We might get jealous or explain it away as luck. Maybe we feel sorry for ourselves, but we haven't recreated what they have, or invent stories about what they must be, sacrificing to make themselves feel better, to make ourselves feel better about what they're doing. These are all ways that we justify our current reality and ensure that we continue to create more of the same. Unless we, at the deepest level and in the privacy of our own innermost thoughts and feelings, believe that we are capable and deserving of enjoying that same degree of abundance, we won't allow ourselves to even entertain it as a possibility. Our beliefs are only true if we empower them to be. At every moment, we can choose a belief that pulls us towards our greatness rather than towards our limitations. And as you'll learn in the next videos that follow, the energetic frequency that we send out through our thoughts and our feelings and our perceptions and our beliefs, they either repel or attract our desires to us. Having it all is a process of attraction that happens from the inside out. Connecting with your vision of having it all in each key area of your life is important. And ask yourself, do I believe it is possible for me to create this? Listen to the answer as it comes to you and allow yourself to identify the core beliefs that hold you apart from creating what you desire. Where are your beliefs aligned with scarcity or unworthiness rather than the possibilities and abundance? Please leave me a comment. Let me know, how has this information impacted you? Let's continue the conversation. And as always, if you haven't already done so, please go to ChristyWhitman.com and join the family. And if you like this video, please share it with your friends and family. And please, just remember that the universe is friendly and is always working for you. It's always supporting you in whatever you're asking for. You ask by your energy and your vibration that you send out. You can have your it and your all. Start looking for your own having it all moments. And be sure to have a fantastic week.
Artist of my painting, I'm the driver of my car, I'm the director of my play, and baby, I'm the star cut.
Are you ready to have it all? When you pre-order your copy of The Art of Having It All today, not only will you get instant access to the digital ebook version that you can read right now, but you'll also get access to over 102 other celebrity interviews where they share their secrets on how they created a life of having it all. Click the link below to discover how you can start having it all right now.